Alright guys, we're going to do a really quick ion review. Ions are going to be super important going forward in this class. So please have out your notebook or a piece of paper and be taking some notes as I go through this. While you're pulling that out, I'm just going to start explaining why it's going to be really important for us to know these ions and know how to write them and how they form. Is because we're going to start talking about reactions and elements now combining to form new elements. And so when they combine to form a new element, it's usually based on the ion that they create. We can tell which ones are going to combine which elements and how many of each thing based on their ion. So we need to make sure we have this concept down so then as we move forward, it will make the rest of this unit a lot easier. So we're going to do a quick review and then we're going to move on. So hopefully you've written down the title now, Ion Review. And then I asked this question, why do elements create ions? And so remember, the elements are stable or happy when they have this 8 valence electrons. So when they get to 8 valence electrons, that's when they are the happiest. And so they create these ions in order to get to having 8 valence electrons. So just as a review for people, in your atoms you have a nucleus and then you have electrons going around the outside, and then the electrons on the outermost level right here, these are valence electrons. So it's not your total amount of electrons, it's just these ones right on the outside. So they want to get to the 8. And so there's 2 different ways they can do it. If they're 5 through 7, it's going to be easy for them to just add electrons to get to 8. So if it's 7, it just adds 1 to get to 8, 6 adds 2, 5 adds 3. If it's over here, 1A or 2A or a 3, they're going to take away electrons to get back to 8. So 1 takes away 1 electron, 2 will take away 2, and 3 will take away 3 to get back to 8. So the next question that I ask you is, what ion does Al form? So your first step is to find Al on your periodic table. It's right here. And then we're going to go up to the top and we're going to notice it has 3 electrons, or 3 valence electrons. So we know that Al is going to lose 3 electrons. So if you remember, electrons, they're negative. So if they're losing negatives, think if they have like a bunch of positives here and a bunch of negatives and they equal each other. But if they're going to lose some of these negative ones, they're going to have way more positive than negatives. So Al is going to have a positive charge. It's going to lose 3, so it's going to have a positive 3 charge. So how we write that, this is kind of from Unit 1, is we write Al and then we do plus 3. And that tells us that it's Al with a plus 3 charge. So here's where you put your charge of your ion, and then this is where you put your element symbol. So we're going to be doing that a lot in this class. Another one, maybe let's try to find the ion for Cl. So use your periodic table, find Cl. It's right here. Go up, it's 7. Remember, 7, they're going to add electrons, so we're going to add 1 electron to get to 8. So add 1 electron. Since we're adding a negative charge now, we're going to add a negative. So we have a negative charge, so it's Cl, and it's going to be just a minus. It's just a -1. You can put a 1 if that helps you feel better, because we're just adding 1. So it's just 1 minus. There are certain terms that we're going to have to know for this coming unit in the test, and one of them is called a cation. And a cation is a positive ion. So positive charged ion. So if something has a positive charge, it's going to be called a cation. So Al right here, this is a cation because it's a positive charged ion. All right, we're also going to have things that are called anions. And you could probably guess that. That's a negative charged ion. So if you notice Cl here, it's a anion. There are different ways that you can memorize these terms. Some people like to think for a cation, cats have pos, so it's positively charged, and then they just remember anion is the other one. I like to think cation, it has a T that looks like a plus sign in it. So it has a plus sign, it's for positively charged ions. Hopefully that makes sense, one of those for you. But you need to know what these are, and you need to be able to identify elements and say if it's an anion or if it's a cation. They could ask you questions on your test, like, they could say like, is fluorine going to form an anion or a cation? You can think fluorine, we add a negative electron, so it gets a negative charge. Fluorine gets a negative charge, so it's an anion. So it's going to be questions like that you're going to have to be able to answer on your test. The other kinds of questions that you're going to have to be able to answer is it might give you things like saying you have an element and it has protons is going to be 16 and the electrons are going to be 18, and they're going to ask you what element is that. So remember, our proton number tells us what element it is, so we go up and we see that for 16 it's S. It has 16 protons, so we write S, and then we see that we have more negatives than we have positives. There's 2 more electrons than we have protons. So it's going to be a negative charge ion, and it's going to be a -2 because we have 2 more electrons. So again, on your test, it might give you this and ask you what element it is, what charge it has. It might ask you if it's an anion or a cation, and this one is going to be an anion. All right, let's do one more practice one. So they might tell you element, you have protons that are 11, and the electrons are 10, and they may ask you what element is it, what ion is it. And so you go to your periodic table. Remember, we're looking for 11 protons. So go to your periodic table, look for 11 protons. All right, try to write out that element symbol, and now write out what charge would be if that element had 10 electrons. All right, I'll show you how you do it. So we find 11 protons. That's going to be right here, 11, that's Na. So that is what our symbol is going to be, Na. And then, since it has more positives than negatives, it's going to have a positive charge, and it's going to be a +1 charge because it is just 1 extra proton. And this one is going to be a cation. So hopefully this review kind of made some sense. Do the practice. Let me know if you have any questions, and come in and please get help. This is going to be super, super important for the rest of the semester. All right. Have a good day. Hope to talk to you guys soon.